Learning Perek Gimel Halacha Tes Hilchos Korban Pesach. Chamisha Shenisavu Oils B'Scheim. 5 that their skins of the different Korban Pesachs got mixed up. Let's go down below. We found a wart on one of them, and therefore one of them was not kosher, and we don't know which of the 5 groups was not kosher. They all cannot be eaten because each one we have to be concerned lest that one is the one that's not permissible to be eaten. In misavu, if they got mixed up after the shlit, before the blood was sprayed, that means that at the time of the spraying of the dam, they couldn't eat it. Then, even though that each one might be kosher, they're all also, because at the time of Zrika, they weren't able to be eaten. It's Chayav and Pesach Sheni. All 5 groups have to bring a Pesach Sheni. Now, Nisavu, if the skins were mixed up Achrei Zrika, only after Zrika, it's P'turim Elasis Pesach Sheni. They don't have to be a Pesach Sheni, even though there's one group that definitely did not fulfill their obligation. She'im, because if all 5 will bring Hikrivu Pesach Sheni, if all 5 will bring it, Nimtza Zeh Sheikri Berishin, Korban Kosher, maybe Chul Nazor. The one who has, those who have fulfilled already their obligation, are now bringing a korban which has no status or permissibility to be brought, and therefore it's like slaughtering a secular meat in the Beis HaMikdash, and there's an issur of slaughtering chulin in the Azor. Ininu kulam al Pesach echod. And what happens if you say, wait a second, on the Korban Pesach, they shouldn't bring 5 new ones, they should just bring 1. And they'll make a condition, right, that whoever is 4 is 4. Nimsa nishchet shaloi lemechuyev. So then 4 of the groups aren't mechuyev. Zeh kimisha nishchet shaloi lemnuyev. That's as if it would be slaughtered for somebody who was not counted on it. The same Malayaroim questions. In Perek Beis we learned that if you shechted it for those who are counted and those who are not, it's kosher. Why is it different over here? Why can you do the Ship Pesach Sheni for all 5 and say that whoever was obligated for, it's obligated for, and the others you won't be able to eat it at all because we don't know who can eat it? The Malayaroim answers that when you have those who are counted and those who aren't counted, it's kosher, because those who are not counted, in fact, those who are counted can eat from the Pesach, but here, where nobody can eat from the Pesach, right? Therefore, the korban is posel because it's not called for those who are counted and those who aren't counted. Or rather, it's all of them are not counted. That's why Rambam says it's considered, not that it's actually so, as if it's sheloi lemnuyev. Now he uses the lotion of sheloi lemnuyev, but Rambam actually says in our text the mechuyev. And in his language, it's hinted at that even though you have a group that could be counted, since they can't eat from it, it's considered as if they're not part of it. Furthermore, the Malayaroim says that Rabbi Yochanan Perla notes that Rashi on the Mishnah says that Pesach ain't in Nechal. Pesach cannot be eaten only for those who are counted on it. That we learn this from the Pasuk, Ish lefi ochloi tochoisu. Every person according to the ability of his eating shall be counted. And the Pasuk tells us on the slaughtering of the korban, and not on it's eating. Why is he telling us by the slaughtering? So you must say, the Rabbi Yochanan says, that Rashi intends to say that the reason you can't slaughter a korban for those who are not counted is because he's slaughtering for those that are not able to eat from the meat. So the Malayaroim says that therefore the Rambam changed the Lashon of Gemara. Therefore, it's eaten for those who aren't numbered, and he writes, it's slaughtered for those who aren't numbered. To emphasize that the main reason it's also is because since none of them can eat it, therefore you can't slaughter it, even though that you don't have to eat the Korban Pesach if at the end for some reason you didn't eat it. But you can't slaughter it when you know you can't eat it. And therefore the Rambam says, Nishchat shelo yinuyov. V'im is nikol echad mehem. If each one of them made it a condition, im einoi Pesach yesh shlomim. If it's not a Pesach, it should be a what?
Shlomim.
A shlomim. And he made a condition. If it's not a Pesach, it should be a shlomim. And you can't say each one should say, if the first one that I brought is kosher, this would be a shlomim, because there's a difference, and we know that the Korban Pesach is sprayed, is poured very softly at the base of the Mizbeach. Zriko is from a distance on top. Now, if they'll make a condition as a shlomim, since we don't know what the korban is, how can they deserve it down when shlomim has to be done with spraying and Pesach with pouring? V'hanitonin b'zriko, those that have to be sprayed, to begin with, you cannot pour them. And therefore there is no way, there's no solution on what to do here. Chavis asks questions, Rambam. Why don't we say that it should be bottled b'roiv korban apsul sheboy in the majority of the korban which is posel? Therefore, the blemish is bottled and the roiv is kosher. We learn whenever you have mixing up of different korbanos, they die. The Gemara questions why don't we nullify them in the majority? The Gemara answers, then since every animal is its own entity, it's a counted thing. A numbered item never becomes nullified. Therefore, you don't nullify the kosher with the psulim, or vice versa. So the Gemara would sing, here too. That's only when they're alive, but when they die, you say they become bottled. And by 5 skins, right, they're already dead, the animals. Why don't you say that the Korban Pesach is bottled in the 4 kosher ones? Because minater 2 to 1 is also nullifies in the same type of thing. So from this we see, so the Chavis Das wants to prove, like those who have the assume that an entire animal, even if it's slaughtered, does not become bottled b'roiv, because it's considered a piece that in itself is counted. The piece of meat is counted because of its value. Therefore, the Chacham say that it doesn't become bottled b'roiv. So we have to understand that keves sholem, an entire animal, ain't a din, does not have a din like a piece of meat which is servable on the table, because you don't usually give someone to eat an entire keves. And therefore, by the 5 skins, we should say it should be bottled b'rov. It's different than a piece of steak, which is something which, in a sense, has more significance, more uniqueness to it. That's why when you order, they ask you, do you want it rare, well done, etc. The basic questions in the sugya of the 5 skins that got mixed up. The Gemara says that all 5 of them can't bring their own Pesach Sheni. You make a condition. You can't say that they should each bring a Korban Pesach, making a condition, whether it's a Shlomim or it's a Pesach, because there's a special din that a Shlomim you have to give a portion to Kahanim, and therefore that portion By a Pesach, you don't have to give it to Kohen, and therefore the Kohen is not allowed to eat from your Pesach if it's a Pesach. So, more questions. Maybe have a Kohen join you. The Kohen will join you. Can eat it as a Korban Pesach or as a Chazei V'Shoik. The more answers. If it's a Kohen that already had Pesach Rishon, they can't eat from the Korban Pesach because maybe it's not from the Chazei V'Shoik because maybe it's not a Korban Pesach. And if you can't eat a Korban Pesach, Shaloi Lemnuyov. The place he questions, why don't you say the Chazei V'Shoik should be Shel Echod Ba'aba Kabona Shlom Shel Ha'achirim. He wants to say, since we have now we have Chazei V'Shoik from 5 animals, so the 4 should nullify the 1. The Beis Ephraim questions also on the Rambam. How can you bring the brisa of the 5 that were mixed up the skin that was found to have a blemish? He says in halachas of forbidden foods that something that is counted is nullified b'roiv. Therefore, the Pesach of Posel should be nullified in the 4 ksherim. So you can't say, since you took off the skin, it's considered a portion which cannot be nullified, because we learned that a piece of chatos tameo that got mixed up with chatois toiros is bottle, because the Torahs can be eaten only for the Kahanim. Therefore, we don't say it's a chaticha aroyel is chabed, because it's not royel is chabed to others, only to Kahanim. By Pesach too, since it only can be eaten by those who are counted on it, it should have that same sort of a category, and you shouldn't say that it's a chaticha aroyel is chabed. The Beis HaLevi also disagrees with the Chavos Shiur that Pesach is considered a davar or a cheticha haroyel is chabed. Why? Because the Tosfos writes that the portion of the korban chatas is tmeom is betelo, is nullified in other chatichos tohoros. That parts of the korban chatos tmeom is betelo, and it's not considered a chaticha haroyel is chabed because you can't have kibud b'fnei kahanim b'migdosh. The Kahanim, when they eat kochim, they do not, what's the word? Eina machzikim toivo zeh lo zeh. They do not, you don't have to show preference one to the other. Everyone it's equally divided for whatever reason. Whoever worked harder, whoever didn't work. They all have to be the same. So to become Pesach, we're all bnei Yisrael chayav in the korban. Therefore, the Pesach is not considered in Chaticha Haroyel is chabed because there's no uniqueness about it to anyone. It's not like a piece which you give to his honored guest. Furthermore, the Beis HaLevi questions on what the Chavos does. The whole concept of a Chaticha Haroyel is chabed is not bottled as midrabanan. And therefore, how does Abaye say in Psochim that they got mixed up before Zrikas Adam? They have to bring in Pesach Sheni, because at the time of the Zrika they weren't able to be eaten. Now, Torah Korban Pesach was royal achilo. If you're going to say it's the Rabbanon, then Torah they could have eaten it. Just that with the Rabbanon they can't eat it. If that's the case, why are they obligated for a Pesach Sheni? Yad HaMelech questions also like the Chavos does, and he adds, you can't say that a korban is not bottled because it has importance to it. That even if it's not bottled barov, it should still be mutter from all of them, because we say called the porish merube porish, meaning that every korban came from the majority, and the majority here is 4 against 1, and therefore it should be able to be eaten. The Adam Melech answers, the din of nullification is only that on each piece is a suffix. If that's the minimum, if that's the small amount, and therefore the majority overcomes it. But where there's something else that separates them, Therefore, you can't combine them. There's another different, by Korban Pesach, every korban stands by itself because the only ones who can eat from it is who? Those who are counted. And the others aren't involved with this one animal. And therefore, we can't use what others have to nullify this one because it doesn't mix. And therefore, each korban stands by itself. Therefore, you don't say there's a roiv that permits it to be used. Because when you're talking about the Korban Pesach one, the other Korban Pesach have nothing to do with this one. Yishaz Tshuvas Ein Yitzchok, this Yitzchok Spectre, he answered the question of the Chavaz Das according to the Rambam in Psulei HaMikdoshim, animals that are not allowed to be used for korbanos, that one Isser is not mevatel the other. Because if there's a mixture of pieces of heter permissible with some that are also, because of different reasons, we don't say that one of the Yisurim should go with the heter to make the other Isser. Meaning, for example, you have pigul and you have heter and you have noiser. So you don't say the pigul and the heter nullify the noiser. And here, at the time they got mixed up, on 4 of them, there was an Isser of Menuyim, even though there's no mum, because you can't eat it by day until night. And therefore, a separate reason that by day you can't eat it. And therefore, the item itself is also until you prove it's mutter. And by night, it's too late already. And they can't, the others cannot, you can't eat from a live Pesach without roasting it. The Rambam Paskins. So you have 2 aspects where the korban as it is raw cannot be eaten. And one it's raw and one is by day. Therefore, the other korbanos that they have these isurim cannot be modeled the Pesach, which is Balmum, to permit it to be mutter b'roiv.